Before we wrap, Richard, you have these amazing bracelets on,
only
which
one.
you are wearing the names of
Yeah,
other
I've got one.
victims. Yeah, Robert's got one.
I've just got Bosley.
But so you
yeah.
told me
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me before you started that the parents of these victims, the families, gave them to you.
Well, first you should realize they're a couple layers deep. They're not, you can't see all of them because they're covering up. But as I've traveled around the country, I've met survivors of gun violence, people who have been shot and recovered, and I've met families that have had loved ones shot and killed. And these that I wear are given to me by family members, and for most of them I know the stories. There are a couple that just showed up in the mail and I never met the people or and don't know much about the stories, but for most of these
Can you tell us about a couple of the people you're
I
wearing on your
can.
wrist?
This green one says, "What would Dawn do?" And Dawn Hochsprung was the principal at Sandy Hook Elementary School. She was awarded the Presidential Medal for Heroism because she tried to stop a shooter. And this one was given to me by Erica Lafferty. She's the daughter of Dawn Hochsprung.
I think she encountered him in
the hallway, right.
As I recall, not an
I mean,
expert,
she
but-
could have run, she could have
Right.
gone the other way, but she did not. She
Right.
confronted him and tried to make him stop, and she was killed. This purple one is given to me by Roxana Taylor Green, and her daughter Christina was about 9 years old when she was shot and killed in Tucson when Gabby Gifford was shot and wounded. And Pat Mach was there and kicked the magazine away from the shooter while he was trying to reload. That's the woman that yelled shame from the gallery in the Senate after Sandy Hook.
She was with Gabby Gifford?
Yes, Pat Mach was with
Right.
Gabby Gifford. Well, she was a bystander. She wasn't with
she
Gabby.
was a bystander.
Yeah, she was a bystander. I think she's an RN. And the shooter was trying to reload, and she knocked the magazine out of his hands. And she's a hero. I mean, and she went to the vote on the Sandy Hook legislation that was in the Senate, and that's when she yelled shame. And I know her, and she's a friend of mine now. One of the things that I find is that my closest friends now are other survivors, because no one really knows what it's like except other survivors. You know it's bad, but until you've lived it, you don't really know. It takes you down to a place you've never been before. Really, it does. To lose a child in this way, or a loved one in this sudden, violent way unexpectedly, is just, you know, it's a terrible thing. But for me, advocacy and trying to bring some meaning to my son's death is the only thing I can do. It's not even a choice for me. I cannot sit at home and watch another shooting. I mean, when they happen and I'm not on the road, I head to the gym and I work out like a madman, and then try to get back on the road as quick as possible, because every single day that goes by means another one of these preventable situations. Not everyone, you know, I don't believe
Where were you when you heard about Orlando?
I don't remember right now.
But what was your? Do you remember
I don't remember right now, because, you know, I was when I was with the moms yesterday in Sacramento, and listening to what was going on. When we were in Sacramento, we had to sit in. We took a picture of us all sitting down. I'm so in the moment that I don't spend much time reflecting. I've done a couple of television interviews in the past couple of days. I haven't seen any of them. And so when you ask me a question like that about what was I thinking of when, I'll tell you what I remember about thinking about Orlando was my remembering how long we had to wait to learn that Chris was dead. We didn't find out that we knew that Chris was injured. We knew that he was missing. We'd gone to the hospitals, we couldn't find him, and he wasn't answering his phone. Some friends said that they thought he'd been struck by a car. And it was over 3 hours before the police told us
You
that
drove,
he-
you had to drive?
Yeah, we drove
over-
down to Santa Barbara from
from-
San Luis Obispo. And we went to the hospitals. But when I think about, when Orlando was going on, I was thinking about those families that were waiting to find out. You know, we were calling Chris and there was no answer, and his phone was laying next to him where he was laying dead, where he was shot. And I was thinking about the first responders in Orlando who said that when they went into that nightclub, that amongst the bodies were cell phones that were ringing. And I know what that's like. You know, some of those families didn't find out that their loved ones were dead till the next day. You know that something bad has happened, and you don't want to believe it. And so for hours, you're thinking, well, maybe he went to visit a friend. Maybe they weren't there, but somehow, somewhere there, you know that it's possible. And then when it happens, your world just drops away. It's just, so when every time one of these things happens, all of us are like this that have been through this. When these things happen again and again, it reminds us of what happened when it happened to us, So.
So you relive it in a small way?
Well, yes, you do, right? It reminds you of what it's like to go through that, and things, even TV commercials or something. I'll see something about a father and son and stuff, and just, we really owe it to our families. Don't wait till it happens to your family. Do something now. The idea of pretending that this is just something that happens to other people is not reality. It's going on all around us and every day.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. Thank you for coming, Robert.
Sure.
We're going to stick around and have conversations among ourselves and have a drink. I think we could all use a drink after that.
I gotta go to the
Police.
airport.
Yeah.
We'll raise
Where
one
he
for
comes
Christopher
from.
for sure.
Home.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.